This Alaska summit is a big deal, but probably not for the reasons that you think. As you can tell by my hair and voice, it's morning here in Albania, so let's talk about some hot national security goss. When last we left Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, they were exchanging nuclear threats. The Russians had gotten rid of the INF to start producing medium and long-range missiles. The U.S. had said that they were moving their nuclear submarines closer to Russia, and everybody was doing a lot of hand-wringing. Out of the blue, the world's most important frenemies decide they're going to have a Hallmark movie in Alaska. But they're not going there to sip cocoa and gaze into each other's eyes. I just wish they would kiss. No, they're doing what everybody should be doing in Alaska, which is discussing the future of a sovereign state without that sovereign state actually being there. High-level summits like this at the executive level are a really big deal. Instead of back-channeling through diplomatic proxies, which, of course, both of these major powers have been doing for years and will continue to do. Because they love each other. Executive meetings put it all on the line because the press from both inside the country and outside the country is going to be watching. The U.S. wants a speedy end to the war because Donald Trump has painted himself as the president of peace. This has led to him photobombing a lot of peace agreements throughout the world, including India and Pakistan, and then just claiming that he did that. He didn't do that. Vladimir Putin wants a big chunk of eastern Ukraine and to maintain territorial control of Crimea. But there are more interested parties here, namely Ukraine. Ukraine has stated that it'll keep fighting for its territorial integrity, whereas Europe also wants it to keep fighting for its territorial integrity. Now, you may be saying, well, what's the problem with giving Russia just a little bit of a nibble of Ukraine? Like, that'll make the war stop, right? Look, nobody wants wars, and this sets a bad strategic precedent, one which increases the likelihood of more wars in the future. And that precedent is basically that if you go to war in a foreign country and you are there for long enough, then you can just sort of keep the territory that you've gained. And this is part of Russia's playbook. You dominate a region that used to be a part of the Soviet Union, and then you annex it and call it yours. This happened in the Republic of Georgia. Vladimir Putin is just over there saying, yeah, but like as soon as I get a little bit of Ukraine, I'll never do it again. But we're all like, yeah, Vladimir Putin, we know you're going to do it again. You're going to do it again in the Baltic states. We know that's going to happen. The problem with these summits is it has to look like a win for everybody. And a win for everybody in this situation means that Ukraine loses. But there are a couple of outstanding questions here. The U.S. has signed a minerals for security deal with Ukraine that is currently protecting areas within contested regions of Ukraine. So, if Russia gets those areas, does that mean that the U.S. gives up its billions of dollars worth of minerals? My guess is no, because they've been breadcrumbing this idea that, like, everybody's going to get a little bit of what they want and not everything that they want. Ukraine can have some of its territory back so long as it's got those rare earth minerals for the U.S. in it, and Russia can take the rest of the gains that it's made. The other question is, will Europe and the UN support any agreement that comes out of this? Any of the demilitarized regions between Ukraine and Russia is going to have to be policed by an independent policing force. Usually that would come from the United Nations, or it might come from Turkey. So those nations are going to have to agree if they're going to put their soldiers into harm's way by establishing a demilitarized zone between the two countries. And then there's this one other little thing which is pretty important, which is the fact that, like, is Ukraine going to agree to this deal? At this moment, they're saying, no, we're not. We want our territorial integrity, and so we're just going to keep fighting. Given the fact that Russia is not great at following through on ceasefire or treaty agreements, and the United States is good at just claiming victory when victory is not actually there, I'm assuming that this summit is going to be a dog and pony show where they agree to something, both claim victory, and then the fighting continues while the UN and Europe scratches its head and wonders what they're going to do next. Anyway, smash like and subscribe and hit the link in the bio for free intel.